Hi my dear students, welcome back to BioloGy's biology classes. So in the previous session we have dealt with the reproduction organism part first, where we have come across what is reproduction, how do organisms reproduces and what are the modes of reproduction. In that we have detailed about the asexual mode of reproduction, like the fission, binary fission, multiple fission, or maybe the budding, fragmentation and the sporulation and cystation. Like this we have did in the previous session. And continuing part is now we are going to discuss. That is regarding the vegetative method of reproduction. So this vegetative propagation is a kind of asexual reproduction. Why we are saying that? Why we are saying vegetative propagation is nothing but in a mechanism way, it is also nothing but an asexual mode of reproduction. Why means here, as we defined, asexual mode of reproduction is in or by only one parent. Here also, in the vegetative method of propagations, the parents are only one. The involvement of only single parent we can see. So, vegetative structures are body parts, are somatic parts. If we get departed, those somatic parts are leading to a formation of new propagules, that leads to the formation of new plantlets or plant body. So that's what the vegetative propagation is. So the vegetative propagation is, that's why it is known as, in the mode of methods or a physiological method, it is a asexual mode of reproduction. So the vegetative method of propagation takes place by propagules of the body, that is vegetative propagules, means the structures which gives rise to the new plantlets, that is called vegetative propagules. So from the vegetative propagules, new plant body will develop by plantlets. So you can have some of the pictures on the board, but before going to this, let us have some of the concepts. So if we come across fragmentation, especially in the previous session also we have seen Hydra as one of the best example for the budding. Here fragmentation also can be seen in the species called Hydra. So here Hydra means, especially known as one, here this Hydra, if the fragment will take place, means the body, parent body is cut into small pieces and each piece is having capacity to develop as a new individual, then such type of mode of reproduction is nothing but fragmentation. Means the body gets divided into small pieces or fragments, and those fragments are capable of having capacity to develop as a new individual. Andre fragmentation method ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಕಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಆ ಕಟ್ ಆಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಹೊಸ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ Hydra. So that is the fragmentation. And then here you can see again, likewise you can see the bryophyllum, and the potato, ginger, pistia, sugarcane. Like this, various plants are having the vegetative mode of reproduction by vegetative propagules. How? Let us see on these examples quoted in the NCERT. So as potato, you can see the small buds will develop when they get favorable conditions like the moisture and humidity. So these buds are next leads to the development of individual plantlets. So what are those? How that arises? That is, the small eye-like structures, means these buds are eye spots will arise to the plantlets, that leads to the plantlets. So that's what these eye spots are nothing but here they are arising from the nose. That's why if we ask this diagram as given for the identify the vegetative propagule in this given diagram, we have to write that nose, especially eye spots, are buds of potato, tuber ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. So in the morphology of foreign plant we have discussed that runner, offset, circle, tuber, bulbous. So ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, these are all the modifications of stems ಅಂತ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು. So here this potato tuber is giving rise to the new plantlet through the arising of the buds or the eye spot, that is mainly at the region of nodes. So that's why it is one of the way to propagate. And another thing is ginger. So here ginger is one of the modification of stem, especially underground modification, but it is also acting as a way to propagate as rhizome. It is also same in the case of banana. Here you can see the regular intervals of nodes and internodes, but at the space of nodes we can find the small scaly leaves. So from this point they can give rise to the roots when they give contact with the soil, and when they get a favorable condition they will lead to the formation of new plantlets. So that is what in the case of rhizome ginger and the rhizome of banana. So the similar thing here is each plantlets from a rhizome or whatever tuber of a potato are arising from nodes itself. And coming to agate, so this is one of the best examples for bulbul. This is another stem modification agate. So agate is undergoing the weighted propagation by bulbuls, and bryophyllum is giving rise to new plantlets at the notches. What is these notches? See, if it is a leaf lamina, then it is plain. But if this leaf lamina is having small incisions, so that small inward projections are called. These inward projections are nothing but notches. From this point, when the leaf gets contact with the soil or it gets more humidity, automatically it will lead to the development of roots and leaflets. So those are ultimately acts as an individual plants when they get separated from a parental body. So this is what the bryophyllum and especially leaf buds are formed at the notches. And the thing is another is aquatic conditions, that is pistia. So here the tuft of roots we can see at the each regular interval of the nodes, and leaves are arranged like a rosette, means the rose petals ಹೇಗೆ arrange ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಆ ರೀತಿ arrange ಆಗಿದೆ. So ಹಾಗಾಗಿ the rosette arrangement of leaves and root tuft ಅಂದ್ರೆ bunch, okay, ಗೊಂಚಲಾಗಿ ಇದಾವೆ, and at the end you can see that the small root hairs are also there. But when the parent body is cutted, each cutted part will act as a new individual. So this part also acts as one individual, this part also acts as another individual. So likewise pistia is also taking its vegetative propagation method of reproduction. And whereas in the sugarcane also we can see these cuttings, means at the nodes we can see the small buds which are acts as seed-like structures, but these cuttings are used as a vegetative propagates for the continuum generations. So likewise vegetative propagation can be seen in this other different type of examples like bryophyllum or a potato tuber or a ginger or a banana like this. Clear? So these are about asexual mode of reproduction. But as we have seen in the lower organisms, the mode of reproduction is usually asexual method. But in higher plants we can see some shifting mode of reproduction from asexual to sexual. And whereas in the animals we can see only the sexual mode of reproduction. Very important, my dear children, because in the lower organisms we can see this asexual mode of reproduction. Whereas in the higher organisms we can see the sexual mode of reproduction. The question arises, why the asexual mode is only present in the lower organism, why not in the higher level organisms? Means the thing is, as we have defined sexual and asexual mode of reproductions, here the gametes are fused to form a zygote in sexual reproduction, but there is no gamete fusion to form a zygote. That means here there is a genetic recombination because of the exchange of two gametes. So, but there is no genetic recombination in the asexual mode. Hence, here in the sexual reproduction, that leads to the variation. That variations are supporting for the survival of those organisms which are undergoing sexual mode of reproduction. But whereas in the asexual mode of reproduction, it is not giving any of such variations and it is not giving such differences which are leading to the chances of survival. That's why most of the higher organisms we are shifted from asexual mode to sexual mode. This is very important in the justification. They may ask very important. Okay, so that's why we can see from algae to fungi they are having both sexual and asexual modes. But when unfavorable condition exists, from asexual mode to sexual mode they will shift. Why? Again the same reason. Because of genetic recombination that is taken place or encouraged by the exchange of gametes between two parents. Right? That's why from algae to fungi, whatever the organism we can see, during the unfavorable condition, this should be remembered. During unfavorable conditions, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಫೇವರಬಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅಡ್ವರ್ಸ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಕಾಸಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದಾಗ ಅದು ಅಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಮೋಡ್ ಇಂದ ಯಾವ ಮೋಡಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಮೋಡಿಗೆ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಮೋಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ಸ್ ತನ್ನ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೊಸ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ರಿಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್. ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಓದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ದಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ asexual mode to sexual mode. ಇದು ಬಹಳ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ನೆನಪಿರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ವೈಸ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಹೈಯರ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಏನೇನು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರು ಓನ್ಲಿ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಮೋಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ನೆನಪಿರಲಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹೈಯರ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಮೋಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಆಲ್ಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬೋತ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ sexual modes and asexual mode of reproduction differences and why they shift from asexual mode to sexual mode. So coming to the sexual reproduction, as in the previous session and now we have discussed the asexual mode of reproduction and its types. Now we are moving towards sexual reproduction. So what do you mean by sexual reproduction? We know that it is biparental. There is a fusion of gametes to form a zygote. And it is very complex process, usually seen in higher level organisms, and it is very slow process. And survival chances are more because of the genetic recombination. It is supporting for evolution. The variations can be seen. So these are the sexual reproduction. Then how this sexual reproduction takes place? ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ sexual reproduction ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? So sexual reproduction is nothing but, as I said, the fusion of gametes. What are those gametes? Male and female gametes. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ here there is an involvement of two, ಅಂದ್ರೆ amphi mixes and fusion. So sexual reproduction can also be known as amphi mixes. Amphi mixes is nothing but the fusion of male and female gametes. So male and female gametes ಎರಡನ್ನೂ fuse ಆಗಿ ಆಗುವ processಗೆ fertilization ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ, amphi mixes ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. That's why we can also call sexual reproduction is nothing but amphi mixes process. But how this sexual reproduction takes place is all by the different sexually reproduced structures. But whatever may be the different organism we can see, they are all same in the mode of reproduction, especially through the sexual reproduction. They may vary in their habitat, they may vary in their genetic composition, they may vary in their physiological organization. But ultimately, if they are reproducing by the sexual mode, the processes are similar. That is the gamete exchange, the gamete fusion, and then the embryogenesis or whatever the formation of ultimate to the individual. So like this, they are all same in the mode of sexual reproduction. For our convenience, we are dealing with the sexual reproduction is involved in 4 steps. What are those? First is gamete formation, that is gametogenesis. What is this gametogenesis? Means gameto means to gametes, genesis means to synthesis. So gamete synthesis process is called gametogenesis. In the reproductive structures, when they attain maturity, they will produce the gametes. That process is called gametogenesis. After the gametogenesis, there is a gamete transfer and that leads to the fusion of gametes by a process called fertilization. After the fertilization, that leads to the embryo development, that is called embryogenesis. Embryogenesis. Embryo produce ಮಾಡೋದು embryogenesis. And ultimately, last in our ಇದು development. So, this is the 4 steps we can see the sexual reproduction, how it takes place. See, the steps ಏನೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ sexual reproduction ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟೋಜೆನೆಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಫರ್ಟಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಅದೆರಡು ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆನಂತರ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋಜೆನೆಸಿಸ್ ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಝೈಗೋಟ್ ರಿಪೀಟೆಡ್ಲಿ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಅದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕ್ಲೀವೇಜಸ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋವನ್ನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆರ್ಗನಿಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಲೈಕ್ವೈಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ 4th ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್. ಇಷ್ಟು ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಅವರ್ ಕನ್ವೀನಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನೋನ್ ದಟ್ this will be taken by 4 phases. Sorry, the 3 phases. What are those 3 phases? One is pre-reproductive phase, and then is a reproductive phase, and last is senescent phase. So let us see these 3 different phases of. So, what are the phases of life? The life cycle is completed in 3 phases. As I said, one is juvenile phase, or early phase, or vegetative phase, or nothing but pre-reproductive phase. And later, second phase is called the reproductive phase, and third phase is called senescent phase. So, phases of life. So as I said, the first phase is called juvenile phase. What do you mean by juvenile? ನಾವು ಎಳೆ ಕಂದಗಳು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಜುವೆನಿಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಎಳೆ. ಹಾಗೆ juvenile phase is nothing but vegetative phase in the plants. Means the plant body growth ಆಗುವಂಥ phase ನಾವು vegetative phase ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. It is before the reproduction ends. It is called pre-reproductive phase. It takes place before the reproduction, hence it is called pre-reproductive phase. Then next comes is reproductive phase, and last is senescent phase. So these are the 3 phases of life we can see. So what do you mean by juvenile phase? ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ juvenile ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಎಳೆ ಕಂದಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ nothing but it is a phase that takes place between the period of birth to the time of attaining the maturity, till it attains the maturity. So birth to till it attains the maturity, this period is juvenile phase. The growth phase ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಕರೆಯಬಹುದು. Here it is a phase growth. It is a growth phase from which growth phase between the birth till it attains maturity. So reproductive maturity ಅನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಪಡೆಯುತ್ತೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಕೂಡ ಅದೇನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಹೋಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ growth phase between the birth till it attains the maturity is called juvenile phase ಅಥವಾ ವೆಜಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ವೆಜಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಬಾಡಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ನ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳುತ್ತೆ, ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಅಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಟೈನ್ಸ್ ದ ಮೆಚುರಿಟಿ ಅಂದರೆ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರೀ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಸೊ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಪ್ರೀ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ಮೊದಲು. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ juvenile phase is the growth phase between the birth till it attains the maturity. That period is growth phase or nothing but the juvenile phase. Then what do you mean by reproductive phase? Reproductive phase is begins with the stage attaining maturity. Here we can find the changes which are morphologically and physiologically occurring in our body. So, attaining maturity leads to the reproductive phase. During this, what happens? As we can see now, we can have secondary sexual characters and glandular secretions will be increased. Likewise, we can see in our different organisms also, physiologically, morphologically, they will change some of the characters. That is in the reproductive phase. For example, in the flowering plants, they start to flower. That's it. Or in a woman or a female, it starts to give menstrual cycles. That means the periodical changes in the reproductive structures. That's what we can see. And lastly, senescent. Senescent phase means it is the last stage. That is at the end. It is showing the end of reproductive phase, and ultimately or gradually it loses the capacity of reproduction, and it leads to the old age, ultimately to the death. These are the three phases of life cycles we can see. But in the reproductive phase, we can divide animals and also the plants into different stages. For example, in the reproductive phase, I am again elaborating these contents. Reproductive phase I am detailing. So reproductive phase alli nodta bandre illi enagirutte anta bandre, first thing we can see in a plant there are two types. One is monocarpic, another one is polycarpic. What is this monocarpic and polycarpic? Here difference. The flowers means the flowering plant only flowers once in their lifetime. They are all monocarpic. So once the flowering plant is flowered and it starts the fruits and seeds and it dies, this ends its life. That is what in the monocarpic condition we will see. But whereas in the polycarpic, the plant will flowers attaining the maturity, and repeatedly at different intervals or continuously it will flowers and such the fruits and seeds. That is many times in their lifetime. That is what the polycarpic condition. But usually monocarpic flowers or plants are annual and some are biennial. What do you mean by this annual and biennial? Annual means it completes its life cycle by flowering once in their life and in a year, within a year. ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ತನ್ನ ಹೂವನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತನ್ನ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. That means annual plants are those which ends their life by flowering only once in their lifetime and completes the life cycle by setting the fruits and seed in a year or within a year. That is, we can see the rice, maize. These are the best example. Whereas a biennial means they complete their life cycle within 2 years. The first year they complete the growth by vegetative growth, andre body growth na ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತವೆ. Second year ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತವೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ they will attain the maturity, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ reproductive growth ಗೆ ಬರ್ತವೆ. Okay, so first year they will undergo vegetative growth, second year they will undergo reproductive growth. So biennial plants like carrot and radish and mullangi, ivellavvu kuda biennial plants. But dear students, these are very important. More than this is the two examples. One is bambusa, another one is Strobilanthus kuntiana. Why I am saying these two is these two are perennial plants, but they flowers only once in their lifetime. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆಶ್ಚರ್ಯ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಇವು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಬದುಕ್ತವೆ, ಆದರೆ ಲೈಫ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒನ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅವು ಬದುಕ್ತವೆ. ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಸಲ ಬದುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವು ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸನ್ನು ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಿ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಬೂ, ದ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ನೇಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಬೂಸಾ. Okay, so bambusa flowers only once in their life, around 50, after 50 to 100 years of its life. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಬಿದಿರು ಹೂ ಬಿಡ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಬರಗಾಲ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಸಿ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಇಫ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಅಬೌವ್ 50 to around 50 to 100 years of their lifetime. After 50 to 100 years, they will flowers means the flowers which such the seeds are having the more nutrients. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಬಿದಿರಕ್ಕಿ ತಿಂದರೆ ಬಹಳ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಬೋನ್ಸ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ when the flowers of bamboo are arising, that are the seeds and ultimately the rodents ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಹೆಗ್ಗಣಗಳೇನಿದ್ದಾವೆ ಇವುಗಳು ಆ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಿಂತವೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಂದ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಿಂತವೆ. That enhances the reproductive capacity of those rodents and automatically ನಾವೇನೇ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಾಗ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ರೇನ್ಸ್ ನಾವೇನೇ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗೇ ಆಗ್ತವೆ ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕ್ರಾಪನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಅವು ತಿಂದೇ ತಿಂತವೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಯಾವಾಗ ಬಿದು ಹೂ ಬಿಡುತ್ತೋ ಅವಾಗ ಬರಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ದ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಇನ್ ದ rodents. That's why rodent increase the reproduction and ultimately that number of individuals will increase and there means the crops or cereals whatever they are stored in the croplands and other grain stores. Clear? This is about the bamboo. That's why bamboo flowers only once in their lifetime or after 50 to 100 years. And another one is ನೀಲ್ ಕುರುಂಜಿ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೀಲ ಕುರುಂಜಿ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. And its scientific name is Strobilanthus ಕುಂತಿಯಾನ. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೋಬಿಲಾಂಥಸ್ ಕುಂತಿಯಾನ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದು ನೀಲಿ ಕುರುಂಜಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಹ್ಯಾದ್ರಿ ಘಟ್ಟಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕೇರಳ, ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಲಿ, ವಯನಾಡ್ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ 2006 ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 3 years ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಲವರಿಂಗ್ at the regular interval of 12 years. It is very important. It flowers after 12 years of their lifetime. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿ 12 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. That is what the Strobilanthus kurunjiana or the Neel kurunji. Clear? But these two are perennial plants. But usually they are monocarpic. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ once in their lifetime they will flower. Whereas the polycarpic, we have seen the mango, right, or hibiscus. So what is the difference here is the orange, apple, mango, these are perennial and these are polycarpic. These are perennial and they will continue to grow even after the flowering and they will not die. So they will give the flowers and fruits and seeds at the regular intervals and they will be continuous. Like the hibiscus, that's why they are perennial. But poly and many carpic and fruits, they search the fruits by flowering there are many times. But orange, apple, mango, they search and give the flowers and search the fruits and seeds at intervals. And seasonally ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋನ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ನೋಡೋದು, this is a season. Alright, the same way like this apple, orange, mango, these are seasonal fruits. Whereas hibiscus can be seen daily. Regularly we can see the flowering of hibiscus. ಅಥವಾ shoe flower ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, that is what? So hibiscus rosenchilensis ಅಥವಾ China flower ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, China rose ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. This is giving the flowers at the regular interval. So like this we will divide the reproductive phases of the plants based on monocarpic and polycarpic conditions. But for perennial we cannot differentiate which is juvenile phase, which is reproductive phase. Because it is in a polycarpic condition, we cannot differentiate the exact phases of reproductions. Well, so likewise, if we come across in animals, so if you come across an animal, as you see in the plants, the animals are also divided as two. One is continuous breeders, another one is seasonal breeders. So what do you mean by continuous breeders? And what do you mean by seasonal breeders? Continuous and seasonal. So continuous breeders are those organisms which doesn't depend on their particular seasons. Once they attain the reproductive maturity, they will start to give the new individual at regular intervals. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸರಿ ಮೆಚುರಿಟಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬ್ರೀಡರ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತವೆ ಅಂದರೆ ತಮ್ಮ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಪ್ರತಿ ಸಾರಿ ಕೂಡ ಅವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತವೆ, ನ್ಯೂ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬ್ರೀಡರ್ಸ್. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದ ಸೀಸನ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬ್ರೀಡರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ those organisms which doesn't depends on a particular season to reproduce, but once they attain the maturity, reproductive maturity ಯಾವಾಗ attain ಆಗ್ತವೆ, they will start to reproduce and gives rise to new individuals or young ones. So ಅದರ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು? ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಕೊಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ we can give the best example as ourselves or cattle. ಅದಾಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಬಟ್ whereas seasonal ಅಂತ ಬಂದ್ರೆ we can give the lizard or frog or some birds. Okay, why? Andre they depend on a particular monsoon condition or particular conditions that should favor their reproductive capacity. That's why they are called seasonal breeders. They depend on a particular season or a favorable condition during the seasons. That's why they are called seasonal breeders. So this is what the difference. But as I said, most of the birds are seasonals. But in the poultry farm, that is exceptional. ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು, ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. ಪೌಲ್ಟ್ರಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಫೌಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್. ವೈ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಪುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ವೆಲ್ಫೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಲೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಎಗ್ಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸೀಸನಲ್. ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಪುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಪೌಲ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಡಾಗ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಕ್ಯಾಟಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇವುಗಳನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾನಿಪುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಟರಿಂಗ್ ದೇರ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ವೈಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಇನ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೀಸನಲ್ ಬ್ರೀಡರ್ಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. So this is about the continuous and seasonal breeders in animals. Likewise, in a placental animals, especially the placental mammals, we can see the estrous cycle and menstrual cycle as the reproductive cycles. ಏನದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, see in the placental mammals we can see the menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. What is that? See, it is a reproductive changes in the reproductive system of an organism, especially in the placental mammals we are saying. So the menstrual cycle or estrous cycle, whatever these are the reproductive cycles. So these reproductive cycles are taking place in the female reproductive system. So the periodical changes that takes place in the female reproductive system in a regular interval, that is called reproductive cycle. When they attain the maturity, that will starts. And here the menstrual cycle and estrous cycle are quite different. What is that? Means menstrual cycle that takes place in the primates, whereas estrous cycle that takes place in the non-primates. Primates ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಂಗನ ಜಾತಿ ಸೇರಿದಂತ ಒಂದು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಕಾಮನ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೈಮೇಟ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಯಾವುದೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲದೂ ಕೂಡ ಮೆನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಯಲ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ನಾನ್ ಪ್ರೈಮೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಟಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಓಕೆ, ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಡಾಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನ್ ಪ್ರೈಮೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಪ್ರೈಮೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂಕಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೆನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಯಲ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ಟ್ರಸ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಎರಡು ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಆದರೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೋತ್ ಆರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ reproductive system at a regular interval and the changes that occurring in the reproductive system itself. But difference is the menstrual cycle is the periodical change that takes place in the female reproductive system at a regular interval, that is in the female primates, whereas the estrous cycle is taking place in the regular interval at the female reproductive system of a non-primate. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಏನು ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೇನು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, here we can see the rupture of endometrium wall that leads to the bleeding ಕೂಡ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೆನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಯಲ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಲೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎಂಡೋಮೆಟ್ರಿಯಂ ವಾಲ್ ರಪ್ಚರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದು ಡಿಸ್ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಈಸ್ಟ್ರಸ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಡೋಮೆಟ್ರಿಯಂ ರಪ್ಚರ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕಳಿಸಲ್ಲ. ದಟ್ ಎಂಡೋಮೆಟ್ರಿಯಂ ವಾಲ್ ರಪ್ಚರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ರೀಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ಟರ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಈ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಅರ್ಜ್ ಅನ್ನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಶೋಸ್ ದ ಮೋರ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಅರ್ಜ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ reproduction the opposite partner. But menstrual cycle ಅಲ್ಲಿ female partner doesn't allow the sexual partner to interact with the sex ಅಥವಾ sexual urge ಅನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸಲ್ಲ. Sexual urge is not increasing. Clear? So likewise we can see the differences in the menstrual and estrous cycle in the primates and non-primates. And the same way this will lead to the reproductive maturity and formation of the gametes, and that will lead to the fertilization later in the process of coitus or interactions, sexual intercourse or later. After this, at the end, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, that is the last phase called senescent phase. So senescent phase ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, as we know, it is leading to the terminal stage. It is a terminal stage at the end of a reproductive phase. The terminal stage at the end of the reproductive phase leads to the old age and ultimately to death. ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಥರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೆನೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಫೇಸಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಬರದೇರಿ ಏಜಿಂಗ್ ಒಂದು ಕಾಮನ್. ಏಜಿಂಗ್ ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ದ ಮಾಲ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಹಾರ್ಮೋನ್ಸ್. ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮೆಚುರಿಟಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ವಿ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಬಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾರ್ಮೋನಲ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಗ್ಲಾಂಡುಲರ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊನಾಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲದೂ ಕೂಡ ಹಾರ್ಮೋನಲ್ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಲೈಕ್ ವೈಸ್ ದ ಹಾರ್ಮೋನಲ್ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಫಿಸಿಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ and morphological appearances, and ultimately it leads to the old age. So old age is associated with mainly the hormones, but the senescent phase is ultimately is a terminal stage that leads to the death of an individual. So likewise we will see the different life phases. So in this class we have learned only about the vegetative method of propagations, and later we have discussed the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction differences and the phases and the process of reproduction in the sexual mode, and later we have discussed the monocarpic and polycarpic condition in the plants reproductive phases, and continuous and seasonal periods in the animal reproductive phases with respect to their heat period, nothing but estrous cycle, or a reproductive cycle in our primates called menstrual cycle. So these are all the today's class. In the coming video we will go with the sexuality, that is the events before and after and during the fertilization, that is pre-fertilization events, fertilization events and post-fertilization events with respect to of plants and animals we will discuss. So in one or two video we will end up the reproduction in organism class. So keep tuned, stay home, stay safe, happy learning, continue the learning, have a nice day, see you.